Have you ever had that experience of queuing into a ranked match in your favorite competitive game? Could be COD, League of Legends, Valorant, whatever. And your teammates start off the match by talking trash to you in the voice chat. I mean, all you did was just pick a character that they don't like, so why are they so angry? I've had this experience countless times, but strangely, it was never one of the reasons that I remember disliking a game. I only remember disliking a game because it was uninteresting or because it was inherently irritating. But despite being in matches where both my teammates and the opposing team were toxic and rude, I never remember these matches as anything significant. And I sometimes even remember having a laugh at the fact that my teammates were annoyed with me. So how was I able to do that? It's one thing to ignore, but to experience it while smiling and laughing seems even more implausible. The first thing that allowed me to do this was not taking the game so seriously. But how does one do that? Not taking a game so seriously stems from abundance. That is, an abundance of other games or other hobbies entirely. Let me tell you an analogy to help explain this. Let's say you are applying for summer jobs. You get offered the job from 3 different places that you like. Are you going to be upset if one of those places suddenly rescinds their job offer to you? No, of course not. You have an abundance of jobs lined up. One job gone still means you have 2 left. In this case, you have 2 layers of protection. You can sacrifice 2 jobs before you're put in a stressful situation without abundance. So how does this translate to video games? If people are being toxic in one game, saying you suck at the game or you're being a bad teammate, those words can only really hurt you if you care too much about the game and if you care about your perceived skill in the game too much. If you have abundance in other games or hobbies to play, you won't take the game so seriously. Having a bad game in one game doesn't mean you'll have a bad day in another game, or you'll have a bad day in another hobby entirely. You can reassure yourself that this one game doesn't matter because you have so much abundance in other components in your life. When you have that abundance, that one game becomes just one tiny component of your day-to-day life. So try not to hyper-focus on one game. Even within one game, try not to hyper-focus on one game mode. If you play a lot of ranked games, pair it with some casual games. Wherever your abundance may be, just try to internalize the fact that one game will not define anything in your life, and it certainly does not even define anything in the game. The second thing that allows me to deal with toxicity is a friend group presence. Friends are not just there for moral support, though that is one component of it. They can be nice and supportive and reassure you that the haters don't mean anything, but from my experience, this wasn't the major reason that friends are great for dealing with toxicity online. Friends are not only going to bring you strength in numbers against the toxic party, but they're also going to keep you in check. Now let me explain these 2 points. The strength in numbers is somewhat obvious. If you're on a 5-person team and you're playing with 3 friends, 2 other teammates being toxic do not outnumber you and your friends. No matter how toxic they are, you feel like you have the power in this situation, and they cannot harm you or your friends simply because you outnumber them. Friends keeping you in check is a little less obvious. When you play by yourself, it is easier to get in your head about toxicity and maybe even start fighting back. When you're with your friends, they may indirectly get you to not fight back, simply by just being there. Instead of talking trash to your teammates, you're talking to your friends. You're inherently more distracted from the frustrations of rude teammates if you're already playing with your friends. The third and final thing that allows me to ignore toxicity is simply experience. That is, experience playing online. I've played online multiplayer games for years and years, so it's honestly pretty hard for anyone in a video game to get me with their toxicity at this point. I've seen every kind of mean or toxic player, and I've heard all the insults. Once you've been exposed to this sort of thing enough times, especially using the tricks I just talked about, you'll soon tune out such toxic players and move on with your gaming experience. And rest assured, this has not desensitized me to violence or foul language or anything rude or any, inappropriate behavior. It has simply gotten me to differentiate between constructive criticism and just pure toxicity, the latter of which I can ignore.
Baby,